Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is December 19th, and right now I'm highlighting the winter storm watch that has been issued by the National Weather Service across much of western Washington. We'll also take a look at the rest of the Pacific Northwest as well. We'll also take a look at what kind of temperatures we can expect. Some very cold Arctic air coming in here, and another dynamic system coming later on this week. So let's go ahead and just jump right into things here. You can see where the winter storm watch has been issued, and don't worry about the northwest interior here. You guys are going to get plenty of snow, or at least a couple good shots of it here as we go through on and through later this week, including southwest BC, including Vancouver Island here. But you can see there's going to be kind of a snow line cut off here somewhere across Pierce County, maybe even up through King County as well. We'll take a look and see what the models have to say about this. Now, taking a look here, infrared satellite imagery, you can see the Arctic air still moving off the coastline here, trying to seep back into the Pacific Northwest. Very cold temperatures. Some of these areas down towards negative 40 Celsius and Fahrenheit across the region. You can see the moisture still streaming in here. Probably going to have some snow flurries off and on for much of the day here across western Washington and up towards southwest BC eventually. Then a system's going to move in here, and that's the one the winter storm watch is up for. And there's going to be a sharp snow rain line probably somewhere at Seattle south through the area. We'll take a look at those details here in a moment. Looking at the windy app, you can see that Arctic air moving off the coastline here. You can see the next system developing out here with some southerlies, some southeasterlies, but you can see pretty chilly temperatures all the way across western Washington. Very cold up through British Columbia here as you get towards Idaho and Montana as well. Now taking a look here at the CoCoRaHS, you can see general snow winners was Seattle north yesterday, with a few inches of snow being reported around the area. Southwest, the ultimate snow winner, southwest BC there across some portions of Vancouver Island picked up nice amounts, as well as the Cascades and eastern Washington, Spokane, Pullman. We're going to do that again here as we go. You can see a little bit of measurable snowfall down towards Chehalis down here on the I-5 corridor, a little bit down towards SeaTac as well. Now, taking a look at SeaTac, 2/10 of an inch of snowfall recorded yesterday. I believe that's the fifth day now of this month with measurable snowfall. But the big story is here, look at these temperatures. You can see we've been below average the entire month there, and we're going to remain so for the next few days. And we're going to go through kind of a dramatic warm up here as we approach Christmas. So, pretty interesting month here, even though we are running a bit below average for precipitation across much of the Pacific Northwest since we've been colder than normal. This is for eastern Washington. You can see that cutoff line really. Once you go east out of Ritzville, the snow is going to pick up towards Spokane. Pullman, a big snowfall coming up here through Wednesday morning. And look at the Idaho Panhandle here out towards western Montana. Lookout Pass. 1.5 to 2 feet of snow through Wednesday morning. Cascades, big snowfall amounts coming up here, but you can see kind of that snow shadow. I know a lot of people don't like it there across some of the Tri-Cities, Yakima, Moses Lake, but you know it's going to be cold over there at the same time, so watch out for those extreme wind chills coming up. This is down towards Portland. They put out a good graphic here, snowfall probabilities. You can see as you get towards the Oregon coast here, not much of a chance of much snowfall there. More towards Hood River, Eugene, the further south you go, it's going to be tough. Portland has probably a little bit of a chance to pick up that 1/10 of an inch here, you know, better than even odds there. Let's just put it that way. As you can see there, have the potential for getting 2+ inches, but it is kind of a long shot. The further you go north, the better chance you're going to have for some measurable snowfall. And this goes all the way up through the Puget Sound, up towards Seattle and Everett. Also, the further north you go, probably the better until a certain point. We're going to have to check out those model details here in a moment. Dangerous cold all week, east of the Cascades especially. Look at these wind chills all the way down to the negative teens, negative 20s in some areas out there. Hopefully everybody's prepared for that. And if you are traveling eastbound out of Seattle and Portland and you think it's cold now, wait till you get east of the mountains. So be prepared for that. Very cold weather as you go eastbound. This is for the Rockies and Montana out here. Some extreme cold is expected out there. Some low temperatures possibly down to the negative 40-degree range. Just ridiculous here. Yeah, so coldest temperatures expected Thursday a.m. So watch out for that. And I had to point this out too. I mean, look at some of these temperatures out here in eastern Montana, Great Falls, Cut Bank, negative 50 below, negative 60, negative 50, negative 46. Incredibly cold out there. You do not want to spend any amount of time out there in that. So if you're traveling eastbound on I-90, heads up for this. No joke. This is the GFS, hot off the presses, 12Z, 2-meter dew point temperature shown here. Now, I want to highlight the system coming in Tuesday. You can see that warm tongue move towards the Washington coast there, southerly winds, bringing 40s all the way up towards Quileute there briefly. Then you can see the temperatures are going to crash back down with this cold air arrival, even though we are looking at dew points here. But I want to point out that you can see some of that moist air, and this is going to be fairly warm that gets into the Puget Sound here, or bring us above freezing, probably right up towards the Seattle boundary here, and then temperatures are going to crash behind that. Now, I want to show you what happens here after we go on into Wednesday. Look at the dry, cold air that moves across the region. And look at these easterlies moving into Oregon here, Portland area. It's going to give the potential for some icing here, as well as kind of anywhere across southwest Washington, Puget Sound up towards southwest BC as well, as we get pretty cold here as we go through the day Thursday. Now, taking a look at that, this is the surface winds. As we go out towards Thursday, I want to show you what's going on here. You can see these east winds coming through the gorge. And as we saw, very cold temperatures east of the Cascades. It's going to be pulling that cold air out into the Willamette Valley here and really across the Puget Sound, southwest Washington, southwest BC. It's going to be very cold on the day Thursday. And then you can see this next system start to approach here. We could spread some Pacific moisture back over the top of that. Could start off for snow for some people, but potential for some freezing rain exists. And we'll take a look at some of the models here in a moment. This is going on in through Saturday morning now. Look at some of these freezing rain totals here showing up on the Canadian model up towards Bellingham, southwest BC. Portland Gorge here. You can see across the Cascades, trapped in the valleys here. We could get some nasty freezing rain totals. Snoqualmie and Stevens Pass. Probably going to have some easterly component to that, bringing cold air continuously into the passes. Even though the warm air aloft will bring rainfall, it'll still be sub-freezing at the surface there. And that goes for the gorge down here through Washington-Oregon border as well. Now, taking a look here, I picked this sounding here for it's between Salem and Eugene. You can see this cold air is going to be out in the region here. This is the GFS showing freezing rain potential there. Then I selected this sounding. So if you look at this blue line, this is the freezing line. We're looking at a vertical sounding here. You can see at the surface 27 degrees Fahrenheit, but aloft it's going to be into the 30s, maybe even towards 40 degrees here or so. Rainfall falling into a sub-freezing layer is going to coat the region with ice. So we have that potential coming up here, folks, for anywhere from the North Willamette Valley all the way up through southwest Washington, the Puget Sound, southwest BC. We're going to watch that system closely as we get closer to it. Now let's take a closer look at Tuesday's system here. It's the NAM3KM. It is in range now. Here we go on into tonight. The snow starts tonight. And you can see the NAM has that cutoff line right about Tacoma there, even driving down towards Olympia eventually as we go through Tuesday afternoon. But look at Bullseye, Seattle, Everett, north of Everett there, some of Whidbey Island as well, up towards Camano Island, some big snowfall amounts on the north side of the system here shown on the NAM3KM. Big snowfall amounts across northeast Oregon, Pullman, Spokane, Idaho Panhandle, Montana. You see the snow and rain shadow out here across eastern Washington and Oregon, but big snowfall amounts coming for the Oregon Cascades also. So yeah, the NAM kind of shows that warm tongue not reaching too far up into the Puget Sound as the system moves onshore, but not all models are showing that. Here's the European for Tuesday's system here. You can see it initially brings some warm air all the way across Seattle, even maybe a little bit further north, but then it crashes that snow level back down to the surface behind it, and there could be some convergence activity in the wake of that system according to the European. But look at some of these snowfall totals up across the San Juans, Victoria, East Vancouver Island, southwest BC. Nice snowfall is incoming. Big snows in the Cascades. Very cold temperatures up there. You need to have some kind of travel kit with you if you are crossing the passes. If you get stranded, you're going to be dealing with extreme conditions up there. And then you can see the big snowfall amounts coming up for portions of northeast Oregon, Washington, again pointing that out there. Then we can see the next system might start at snow for some areas, a little bit for Seattle there. Then the freezing rain potential exists across much of the area, Willamette Valley north. So now we're looking here at the UW model here. This was this morning's run. Put this into motion and you can kind of see the snow cutoff right about SeaTac here, 2+ inches as you go SeaTac north. Big snowfalls just north of Camano Island here up towards Bellingham. East Vancouver Island, San Juans, portions of North Whidbey Island getting some snowfall as well. A little bit of a rain shadow looks like trying to show up here. But you can see we're going to have some impactful weather coming up here on Tuesday. Let's see how far this goes out here. Can we get out far enough? We're now into Wednesday afternoon. We cannot. But you can see the snowfall. And this is why they put out the winter storm watch so far, which will be upgraded to a warning when things look imminent. Now looking at Seattle, Tacoma, check out this. I mean, the European really warms us up for a brief period there during the afternoon on Tuesday. It then crashes us back down as we go through Thursday. Then that potential messy transition as we go on in through Friday on into Saturday shown here. And the warm up as we go on into Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off into the future there. Bellingham, highs probably just into the low 20s there. Overnight lows down towards 10 degrees. Nasty transition is coming up here. Freezing rain possible. Additional snowfall as we go through the day Friday. Spokane, brutally cold out there. You can see, I mean, look at Thursday. Might not even get above 0 Fahrenheit as we go through the day Thursday, and then the potential warm up as we go on in through Christmas and after. White Christmas coming up for many places there east of the Cascades. Portland, you can see the cold air coming in here as well, but it's going to be kind of shallow here at Portland, so it's probably not going to start as snow. Probably going to be a freezing rain event coming up here Friday, and much more bigger impacts the further east you head through the gorge there towards eastern Washington and Oregon. Kamloops, just showing the interior of BC here, just some ridiculously cold temperatures here. This is in Celsius, however, but then you can see a relative warm up as we go on in through Christmas. This is Kamloops as well, getting some snow in the interior of BC there. Light, fluffy stuff out there, so it's just going to pile up, and whatever falls is going to stick around for a while. This is Bellingham. Good model agreement here on the European ensembles. As you can see, the control in the ensemble generally over 4 inches here. Some higher amounts in there as well. A few lower smatterings in there in the ensemble runs, but pretty good snowfall coming up here through Tuesday for Bellingham. Then the potential for some more as that next system arrives later on next week. Snohomish County, Painfield, look at this control run over 6 inches. It's coming, folks. We're going to get some pretty dynamic snowfall amounts here across the Puget Sound, especially the further you go north. So heads up right now, you got your warning. Then we can see the system coming this week also, potential starting to snowfall, potential freezing rain also incorporated in that. Look at Seattle, Tacoma. Some of these individual ensemble runs are downright ridiculous, up towards a foot. And we're going to be right near that warm tongue. So there's going to be a lot of moisture associated that comes through here. The general mean and ensemble show about 4 inches, which is very disruptive, especially for SeaTac Airport there. And it goes without saying, Bellingham and Painfield, Vancouver airports are really going to be impacted by this. So call ahead if you're out there traveling as well. And then you can see maybe starting to snow briefly as we go through on a Thursday night into Friday shown there. Freezing rain potential also for Seattle as we go through later this week. Olympia, you can see some of the ensembles have some impactful snowfall, but for the most part, they're very light here. So that's a little bit further south, and that's why that warm tongue is going to move in with this system, and it's probably going to impact Olympia and warm you up into the 40s here during the day Tuesday before the colder weather arrives for Thursday. Chehalis, you can see again going further south, less impact on the snow shown there. Quileute, a little further north in the Washington coast, pretty good ensemble mean and control agreement here. Probably some measurable snowfall coming, even though you may briefly warm up on Tuesday, but it should crash back down behind that cold front. This is off into Hoquiam, so now you're going further south, and you can see much less impact from snowfall the further you south you go along the Washington coast, Ocean Shores, for example, Long Beach, etc. This is off it for the eastern Washington portions here, and you can see the nice snowfall coming up here. Good model agreement with the ensembles there. Nice snow coming to Pullman, Wazoo out there, and then again later in the week, plenty cold for snow at that point. We are going to start to warm up after Christmas, though. There could be a nasty transition over there as well. Now looking at Boise, you can see coming up here as you go on into late Tuesday night and Wednesday, nice snowfall is coming on through here as well. Model agree about 3 inches of fluffy white snow out there for Boise, Idaho. Now let's compare the GFS to the Euro model battle here. So kind of flurries continuing on through the day today. European brings in the snow a little bit quicker, mainly Seattle north. You can see it started snowfall across much of the Seattle area, about Tacoma Federal Way boundary there. GFS shows it as well, but you can see the Euro bring that rain line right up towards SeaTac here as we go through Tuesday morning, and then crashes it back down behind that. So it's going to be very interesting to watch how this warm tongue comes in. I'm going to pay close attention. I may even go set up a couple probes across the Puget Sound today to measure how this warm tongue interacts with the cold air in place right now. But you can clearly see we are going to drop back down the temperatures as we go, but there still is a sharp rain snow cutoff showing up here as you go through Tuesday afternoon. The GFS a bit colder than the European shown there. You can see the cold front sag south across the area and end the precipitation from northwest to southeast as we go on through the day Wednesday here. Now, then we turn our attention to Thursday and Friday. This is Thursday afternoon shown here. The ice potential starting across western Oregon, southwest Washington, up through the Puget Sound as we go through the day Friday. And you can see here the European holds on to this freezing potential for some of Seattle and the Puget Sound down through Portland all the way through Friday afternoon and evening. even overnight Friday a little bit showing up here before the warm-up starts to occur. But look at the sinister picture that the European shows for the North Willamette Valley. Here we are into Saturday morning, still going strong, and you can kind of visualize that east wind moving through the gorge and spilling out into the lower elevations here of the Willamette Valley. That sub-freezing air being caught here in the Willamette Valley is warm, moist Pacific air is riding over the top of it, causing a freezing rain storm here that the GFS is not in agreement with. And then we warm up, and almost like an atmospheric river looking feature there on the GFS coming up. But that's something we'll worry about well off into the future at this point. We'll worry about that later. Here's the NAM3 cam versus the Canadian high resolution. Now watch what happens here as we go into Tuesday. We start off with snow tonight, but then look at it warms it up all the way up towards Everett and Whidbey Island here on the high resolution Canadian model versus the NAM has the snow line much further south of Tacoma even there. And then you can see the temperatures crash back down on both eventually as the cold front comes across the area as we go on in through Wednesday morning shown there. Big snowfalls coming up here. What a dynamic storm system. Very fun December if you are a winter weather lover here across Pacific Northwest. This is the Canadian model. Let's see what it does with its warm tongue coming up towards the coastline there. You can see that impact and come in towards Tacoma. It stays just south of Tacoma here. So Seattle Metro would be bullseyed here as well as places up north through the Puget Sound. And then you can see that frontal system cast down across the area here. Now let's see what the Canadian says about the ice potential coming up. You can see it includes some of the Willamette Valley there, Puget Sound. And again, it's showing this through Friday night. We got to really watch out here for the North Willamette Valley if you believe the European or the Canadian model here, as this is some pretty wicked cold air trapped here at the lower levels. And this highlights it for the foothills of the Cascades of Washington, southwest BC as well. Any cold air that gets trapped in there is going to be a nasty freezing rain event. And some of this could be fed by some easterly flow through the mountain gaps here, at least initially, as we go on into Friday night. So pretty dynamic system lining up there. Now taking a look here, you could see the Williams Lake Bellingham gradient about -16 yesterday. It relaxed overnight. Now it's picking back up again, and that's shown here. You can see that Arctic high over BC, the relatively low pressure here over western Washington and Bellingham, where that gradient is measured. And you can see that kind of fluctuate back and forth a bit here. Then here comes Tuesday's system. Right into the Washington coastline here, opens up over the Puget Sound here and brings that cold front down across the area. And you can see the high pressure fill in behind it as well as cold air is going to spill back over the area Wednesday and Thursday shown there. So nice diagram of that there. So yeah, anyway, I mean, the winter storm watch is out. The hype is in full effect here, folks. And you can see the Arctic air in place. System's going to be developing out here and rushing towards us as we go through tonight into tomorrow morning. I'll probably do another video as we go through this afternoon. Once 18Z comes out, I'll either do a video or a live stream. We'll see what I'm doing at that point. I may go out and even do a live stream of some snowfall across the area, depending on what's coming up here. But anyway, yeah, so the hype is here. I mean, you can't ask for much more across Pacific Northwest. If you're a winter weather lover, I guess you could include much of Western Oregon in that, but they could get their own shot of winter here coming up later this week with that ice storm. So we'll continue to see how that goes as we look further into the future. But anyway, thanks to all my new members, my new subscribers. You guys make this channel possible. I'll do another video later. I don't want to ramble on too much here, so I'll just cut it off, and I will see you guys later.